Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another reading of 1001 Nights. The music you're hearing in the background is original music written for this project. It's called Hey Honey, and it's written and composed by Mr. Kamyev Sadiri. So I hope you're enjoying this one. Let me just quickly share this, at least on my own page. We are so spoiled, you know, like, regardless of how quick the internet gets, it's never quick enough. That's alright. I hope you all had a wonderful day, or evening, or afternoon, regardless of where you are in the world. And we will be reading now. Okay, I'll do the rest later. How about that? All right. Welcome to another reading. I have a neighbor who's been listening to rave music for a week now, and I really hope he's not going to turn it on while I'm reading. It's all right. People are going through motions, right? Okay. So we are here. Enjoy the reading. Now, when it was the 217th night, she said, "It hath reached me, auspicious king, that Kamar Zaman agreed with his wife, Queen Budur, upon this matter, and told King Amenus what she had said, whereat he rejoiced with great joy. Then he went out and, seating himself upon his chair of estate, assembled all the viziers, emirs, chamberlains, and grandees, to whom he related the whole story of Kamar Zaman and his wife, Queen Budur, from first to last, and acquainted them with his desire to marry his daughter Hayat al-Nufus to the prince and make him king in the stead of Queen Budur. Whereupon said they all, since he is the husband of Queen Budur, who hath been our king till now, whilst we deemed her son-in-law to King Amenus, we are all content to have him to sultan over us, and we will be his servants, nor will we swear from his allegiance." So Amenus rejoiced hereat, and summoning Qazis and witnesses and the chief officers of state, bade draw up the contract of marriage between Kamar Zaman and his daughter, the Princess Hayat al-Nufus. Then he held high festival, giving sumptuous marriage feasts and bestowing costly dresses of honor upon all the emirs and captains of the host. Moreover, he distributed alms to the poor and needy and set free all the prisoners. The whole world rejoiced in the coming of Kamar Zaman to the throne, blessing him and wishing him endurance of glory and prosperity, renown and felicity. And as soon as he became king, he remitted the custom dues and released all men who remained in jail. Thus he abode a long while, ordering himself worthily towards his lieges, and he lived with his two wives in peace, happiness, constancy, and content, lying the night with each of them in turn. He ceased not after this fashion during many years, for indeed all his troubles and afflictions were blotted out from him, and he forgot his father, King Shahriman, and his former estate of honor and favor with him. After a while, Almighty Allah blessed him with two boy children, as they were two shining moons, through his two wives, the elder whose name was Prince Amjad by Queen Budur, and the younger whose name was Prince Asad by Queen Hayat al-Nufus. And this one was comelier than his brother. They were reared in splendour and tender affection, in respectful bearing, and in the perfection of training. And they were instructed in penmanship and science, and the arts of government and horsemanship, till they attained the extreme of accomplishments and the utmost limit of beauty and loveliness, both men and women being ravished by their charms. They grew up side by side till they reached the age of 17, eating and drinking together and sleeping in one bed, nor ever parting at any time or tide, wherefore all the people envied them. Now when they came to man's estate and were endowed with every perfection, their father was wont, as often as he went on a journey, to make them sit in his stead by turns in the hall of judgment. And each did justice among the folk 1 day at a time. But it came to pass by confirmed fate and determined lot that love for Asad, son of Queen Hayat al-Nufus, rose in the heart of Queen Budur, and that affection for Amjad, son of Queen Budur, rose in the heart of Queen Hayat al-Nufus. Hence it was that each of the women used to sport and play with the son of her sister wife, kissing him and training him to her bosom, whilst each mother thought that the other's behaviour arose but from maternal affection. On this wise, passion got the mastery of the two women's hearts, and they became madly in love with the two youths, so that when the other's son came in to either of them, she would press him to her breast and long for him never to be parted from her, till at last, when waiting grew longsome to them, and they found no path to enjoyment, they refused meat and drink, and banished the solace of sleep. Presently the king fared forth to course and chase, bidding his two sons sit to do justice in his stead, each 1 day in turn, as was their wont. And Shahrazad perceived the dawn of day and ceased to say her permitted say. Now when it was the 218th night, she said, "It hath reached me, O auspicious king, that the king fared forth to sport and hunt, bidding his two sons sit to do justice in his stead, each one day by turn, as was their wont. Now Prince Amjad sat in judgment the first day, bidding and forbidding, appointing and deposing, giving and refusing. And Queen Hayat al-Nufus, mother of Asad, wrote to him a letter, suing for his favour and discovering to him her passion and devotion, altogether putting off the mask and giving him to know that she desired to enjoy him. So she took a scroll and thereon indited these cadences. From the love deranged, the sorrowful and estranged, whose torment is prolonged for the longing of thee, were I to recount to thee the extent of my care, and what of sadness I bear, the passion which my heart doth tear, and all that I endure for weeping and unrest, and the rending of my sorrowful breast, my unremitting grief, and my woe without relief, and all my suffering for severance of thee, and sadness and love's ardency, no letter could contain it, nor calculation could compass it. Indeed, earth and heaven upon me are straight, and I have no hope and no trust but what from thee I await. Upon death I am come nigh, and the horrors of dissolution I abide, burning upon me and sore with parting pangs and estrangement galore. Were I to set forth the yearnings that possess me more and more, no scrolls would suffice to hold such store, and of the excess of my pain and pine I have made the following lines. Were I to dwell on heart-consuming heat, unease and transport in my spirit meet, nothing were left of ink and reed and pen, nor aught of paper, no, not even a sheet. Then Queen Hayat al-Nufus wrapped up her letter in a piece of costly silk, scented with musk and ambergris, and folded it up with her silken hair-strings, whose cost swallowed down treasures, laid it in a handkerchief, and gave it to a eunuch, bidding him bear it to Prince Amjad. And Shahrazad perceived the dawn of day, and ceased saying her permitted say. Now when it was the 219th night, she said, It hath reached me, O auspicious king, that she gave her missive to the eunuch in waiting, and bade him bear it to Prince Amjad. And that eunuch went forth, ignoring what the future hid for him, for the Omniscient ordereth events even as he willeth. And going into the prince, kissed the ground between his hands, and handed to him the letter. On receiving the kerchief, he opened it, and reading the epistle and recognizing its gist, he was aware that his father's wife was essentially an adulteress and a traitress at heart to her husband, King Kamal Zaman. So he waxed wroth, with exceeding wrath, and railed at women and their works, saying, Allah curse women, the traitresses, the imperfect in reason and religion. Then he drew his sword, and said to the eunuch, Out on thee, thou wicked slave! Dost thou carry messages of disloyalty for thy lord's wife? By Allah, there is no good in thee, or black of heart, or foul of face and nature's forming. So he smote him on the neck, and severed his head from his body. Then, folding the kerchief over its contents, he thrust it into his breast pocket, and went into his own mother, and told her what had passed, reviling and reproaching her, and saying, Each one of you is viler than the other. And by Allah the Great and Glorious, did I not fear ill-manneredly to transgress against the rights of my father, Kamal Zaman, and my brother, Prince Asad, I would assuredly go into her and cut off her head, even as I cut off that of her eunuch. Then he went forth from his mother in a mighty rage, and when the news reached Queen Hayat al-Nufus of what he had done with her eunuch, she abused him and cursed him and plotted perfidy against him. He passed the night sick in rage, wrath and concern, nor found he pleasure in meat, drink, or sleep. And when the next morning dawned, Prince Asad fared forth in his turn to rule the folk in his father's stead, whilst his mother, Hayat al-Nufus, awoke in feeble plight because of what she had heard from Prince Amjad concerning the slaughter of her eunuch. So Prince Asad sat in the audience chamber that day, judging and administering, justice, appointing and deposing, bidding and forbidding, giving and bestowing. And he ceased not thus till near the time of afternoon prayer, when Queen Budur sent for a crafty old woman, and, discovering to her what was in her heart, wrote a letter to Prince Asad, complaining of the excess of her affection and desire for him in these cadenced lines. From her who perisheth for passion and love forlorn, to him who in nature and culture is goodliest born, to him who is conceited of his own loveliness, and glories in his amorous grace, who from those that seek to enjoy him avereth his face, and refuseth to show favour unto the self-abasing and base, him who is cruel and of disdainful mood, from the lover despairing of good, to Prince Asad, with passing beauty endowed, and of excelling grace proud, of the face moon bright, and the brow flower white, and dazzling splendid light. This is my letter to him, whose love melteth my body, and rendeth my skin and bones. Know that my patience faileth me quite, and I am perplexed in my plight. Longing and restlessness weary me, and sleep and patience deny themselves to me. But mourning and watching stick fast to me, and desire and passion torment me. And the extremes of languor and sickness have shent me, yet may my life be a ransom for thee, albeit thy pleasure be to slay her who loveth thee. And Allah prolong the life of thee, and preserve thee from all infirmity. And after these cadences, she wrote these couplets. Fate hath commanded I become thy fear, O shining like full moon when clearest clear. All beauty dost embrace, all eloquence, brighter than aught within our worldly sphere. Content am I, my torturer thou be, haply shalt arms me with one lovely leer. Happy her death who dieth for thy love, no good in her who holdeth thee undear. And also the following couplets. Unto thee, Asad, I of passion pangs complain, have ruth on slave of love so burned with flaming pain. How long, I ask, shall hands of love disport with me, with longing's dolour, sleepliness, and bane and pain? Anon I plain of sea and heart, anon of fire. In vitals, O strange case, dear wish my faintest fame. O blameless is thy blame, and seek thyself to fly from love which makes these eyne a rill of tears to rain. How oft I cry for absence and desire, ah, grief! But all my crying naught of gain for me shall gain. Thy rigours dealt me sickness passing power to bear. Thou art my only leech, assain me, and thou deign. O chide me not in caution, for I doubt that plaguey love to thee shall also deal about. Then Queen Budur perfumed the letter paper with a profusion of odoriferous musk, and winding it in her hair strings, which were of Iraqi silk, with pendants of oblong emeralds, set with pearls and stones of price, delivered it to the old woman, bidding her carry it to Prince Asad. She did so in order to pleasure her, and going in to the prince straightway and without stay, found him in his own rooms, and delivered to him the letter in privacy. After which she stood waiting an hour or so for the answer. When Asad had read the paper and knew its purport, he wrapped it up again in the ribbons and put it in his bosom pocket. Then, for he was wroth beyond all measure of wrath, excuse me, he cursed false women and sprang up, and drawing his sword, smote the old trot on the neck and cut off her pate. Thereupon he went in to his mother, Queen Hayat al-Nufus, whom he found lying on her bed in feeble case, for that which had betided her with Prince Amjad, and railed at her and cursed her, after which he left her and foregathered with his brother, to whom he related all that had befallen him with Queen Budur, adding, By Allah, O my brother, but that I was ashamed before thee, I had gone in to her forthright, and had smitten her head off her shoulders. Replied Prince Amjad, By Allah, O my brother, yesterday when I was sitting upon the seat of judgment, the like of what hath befallen thee this day, befell me also with thy mother, who sent me a letter of similar purport, And he told him all that had passed, adding, By Allah, O my brother, naught but respect for thee withheld me from going into her and dealing with her even as I dealt with the eunuch. They passed the rest of the night conversing and cursing false womankind, and agreed to keep the matter secret, lest the father should hear of it and kill the two women. Yet they ceased not to suffer trouble and foresee affliction. And when the morrow dawned, the king returned with his suite from hunting, and sat a while in his chair of estate, after which he sent the emirs about the business, and went up to his palace, where he found his two wives lying abed, and both exceeding sick and weak. Now they had made a plot against their two sons, and concerted to do away their lives, for that they had exposed themselves before them, and feared to be at their mercy, and dependent upon their forbearance. When Kamar Zaman saw them on this wise, he said to them, What aileth thee? Whereupon they rose to him, and kissing his hands answered, perverting the case and saying, No, O king, excuse me, that thy two sons, who have been reared in thy bounty, have played thee false, and have dishonoured thee in the persons of thy wives. Now when he heard this, the light became darkness in his sight, and he raged with such wrath that his reason fled. Then said he to them, Explain me this matter. Replied Queen Budur, O king of the age, know that these many days past thy son Asad hath been in the persistent habit of sending me letters and messages to solicit me to lewdness and adultery, while I still forbade him from this. But he would not be forbidden. And when thou wentest forth to hunt, he rushed in on me, drunk and with a drawn sword in his hand, and smiting my eunuch, slew him. Then he mounted on my breast, still holding the sword, and I feared lest he should slay me, if I gainsayed him, even as he had slain my eunuch. So he took his wicked will on me by force. And now, if thou do me no justice on him, O king, I will slay myself with my own hand, for I have no need of life in the world after this foul deed. And Queen Hayat al-Nufus, choking with tears, told him respecting Prince Amjad a story like that of her sister wife. Shahrazad perceived the dawn of day and ceased to say her permitted say. And I thought this is going to be the love story of the decade. Turns out I was wrong. It is getting brutal again. I hope you still enjoyed it. Please refrain from having two wives. As you can see, this can go utterly wrong. I'm going to go to bed and say goodnight to you. Joanna is going to read for you tomorrow, and I will see you next week. Thanks a lot for tuning in. I appreciate your time, sending you much love. And as usual, remember to go inwards instead of outwards. Much love. Good night. Bye.